I think probably the word ignorance. It wasn't that I hated God or had really had any past experience with Him. I didn't really have any developed thoughts about God. I think it was just the fact that I didn't know anything about Him. Jeez. One of my first memories here is my friend Nathan teaching me how to play pool, which was difficult because he didn't really know how to play pool either. Another one, probably my favorite night at the cafe when I was younger, was a night we had a foosball tournament, and Nathan and I won. So that was good stuff.
And you were what, like 6th grade or something?
6th or 7th, yeah.
Okay, cool. Impacted you?
Yeah, like I said earlier, I've been going to Lincoln Christian for a while. Rusty called me one day and asked if I wanted to be his intern, so that would be great, and so he kind of made me the junior high guy. And I remember this was a great place for me when I was in junior high, and he suggested that I should start spending a lot of time here, and that's a good way to make friends with junior high students and get them involved at the church. And so that's what I did, and that's what happened. Oh man, I think it was because I had some sketchy friends in junior high, and so I would hang out with them, and we would just come here and hang out. I don't remember really when my first time coming here was, but I just remember coming here, my friends thought they could play the drums, and so they were loud and obnoxious, and I had other friends who thought that they could play the piano really well. So I just remember coming here, and my friends were being musical, sort of, and that was how I got involved here, starting taking guitar lessons and stuff.
To this youth center?
I think the biggest thing was the guitar lessons. I had a handful of different guitar teachers here, but that was what started it all. And I think around 6th grade, started learning how to play guitar. I had a piano teacher at one point for a few months. He also taught me how to play foosball really well, so that's good. Yeah, I've been coming here for a little bit, not super long. One of my friends told me that they had some group thing happening here Wednesday nights called Engage, I think. And really didn't like the kid that much. He kind of irritated me, so he had to pester me for a long time before eventually it was kind of like, okay, I'll go with you if you stop asking me. So I came here, I just kind of assumed that it would be the same thing as regular cafe stuff on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but on a Wednesday night. I don't have a whole lot of memories about my time here in the youth group, but I do remember standing on the stage over there with my mom and my younger brother talking about getting baptized with Rusty. So this is kind of where it all started at. Yeah, specifically the guitar lessons between you and Rusty and John. It was interesting that I only learned songs about God, and I really didn't know that much about God or why these songs were written about Him. But I remember that my first song I learned how to play was "Step by Step." It's an oldie but a goodie. So yeah, now I've been leading worship at my home church for a long time and kind of had its roots here. Yeah, Chris Heffron, John's wife, we didn't interact a lot, but whenever we did, she always had something profound to say to me. And I understand that profound to a junior higher is different than profound to an adult, but then what she had to say meant a lot to me. It wasn't the same thing as being my youth pastor. She was the director's wife, but she still had a big impact. Yeah, it was great. I don't think that I would have been involved, or at least not as quickly, had the youth group that I went to here been at a church or somewhere else. This was a place that I went to hang out, and it was always a non-threatening environment. I always felt safe, and so when I heard that something else was happening in this building, it felt a little more comfortable than if I had to go some building I didn't know. And there are some students who go here that I know if they knew that there was something going on in a church, they wouldn't go simply because it's in a church. So being in this safe, non-threatening environment is kind of a way to get your foot in the door. And maybe afterward, after you've built that relationship and had a few talks, then maybe you could get them to darken the doors of a church. But this is a good place to start. Yeah, I had a lot of friends. Like I said earlier, I had some friends who were a little rough around the edges. Like most of the drinks they drank when they were in this building were stolen from a gas station, probably. And they would come hang out here, and this is where they started to build relationships with Christians. And I would say that probably half of them are still involved in church or a youth group of some sort today. So that's really cool. Just the same thing I said earlier, this is a really safe place for kids who would feel judged in a church building to come and feel welcome. Well, like I said, when I was here at youth group, I remember standing on that stage just behind me with my mom and my brother talking about getting baptized, and at the Super Bowl party that they put on, my brother and I were baptized next to each other in the swimming pool. It was a really cool experience. That was when my mom started going back to church. She'd gone when we were kids, and then we had been hopping around for a little bit, and then just eventually gave up trying to find a good church to go to. And so that's how we got plugged in at Chillicothe Christian Church. Talking about a different family, this summer while I was volunteering, I had a chance to meet and talk with and pray with the parents of one of the students that goes here, and it was a really cool experience. I think the biggest thing I've learned from people who work here and from doing my own ministry here is that this isn't a part-time gig. It's not just coming here from 3 to 5 a couple times a week, or from 6 to 8 or whatever. If you give these kids your phone number and if you tell them that you want to be a part of their life, they will take you up on that offer. To this day, I still get 2 to 3 phone calls a day from students that I met here this summer. It's great. It's some of the most rewarding work I've ever done, but it's not something easy. It's not something you can do just to cross off, well, I did my good deed for the week. If you're getting involved here, you're getting involved here. Yeah, I think it's some combination of the two, really. A lot of students who come here have one parent, or they've got 2 parents who don't care about them. I had 2 parents who cared about me a lot, but I was a 7th grade, 6th grade kid, so parents are dumb at that point in my life. So when I come here and I can talk about my problems or my questions, it's good to know that there are people who are listening and care about what I have to say, but it's also good to know that they're wiser than me and that they had something to offer. And so I think that listening is really important, but it's just as important as offering important advice. Yeah, it's important. I think it's a shame that not every town or every community has something like this. Mostly because there's a lot of trouble to get into around here. And at least between the hours of 3 and 5 and 6 and 8 on a couple nights of the week, we know that's not happening. I think there's a lot of good that happens inside these walls, and that a lot of other communities would benefit from something like this. Yeah, playing guitar. All started here. I remember, I think it was Rusty gave me guitar lessons the first couple weeks I was here. And then I asked for a guitar for Christmas and got this small blue guitar from Canada somewhere. And Brent and John were both involved in teaching me how. There was another guy whose name I don't remember who was here, but there was definitely no shortage of volunteers at that time. And so I learned how to play guitar, eventually got involved in a youth worship band here. Later in high school, I was leading the youth worship band at my high school youth group. And now I lead worship in the adult services. And music ministry is a big part of who I am today, and that all got started around here. I wish I would have done it more. Some of my closest friends that I hung out with, they would come here because it's where I was hanging out, and so we would just hang out together and go to the cafe and shoot pool or play air hockey for a little bit. But kind of like I said earlier, students are so easily influenced at this point in their lives. And there are a lot of things that could influence them for bad, and this place is not one of those places. And so I think had I been more aware of the fact that my friends at school were more receptive to the gospel, I think that I'd have been bringing people left and right, because nobody's afraid to come to a place where you hang out and eat pizza and play games all day. But it's a good way to open the door for some students.